So, very warm welcome, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Let's get started. We will continue on our journey on the concept of grace, faith, and surrender. Surrender would require maybe more than one session. Today, we'll see how far we can go, but we'll get started. And today, we have the Shivir, Puri Shivir is also underway. But we have time to wrap up our session. So, very warm welcome. Let me share my screen and we will get started. Okay, let's get started with our opening prayers. I don't know where the opening prayers have vanished, so we'll just do that. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. वसुदेव सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Radhe Radhe again. Good morning, good evening. So let's get started. We've been talking about the concept of grace and surrender, and that's where I picked up Shloka 18.62, and we will continue with this one today as well. So I'll recite it, and you're welcome to follow along. Tamev sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्. Okay, so let's get started.
Radhe Radhe Ashutosh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Ashutosh.
Tamev saranam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param santim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam.
Very nice. Thank you, Ashutosh.
Radhe Radhe Sam ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sam ji.
Tamev sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadapram shantim sthanam prapasyasi shashvatam. Radhe Radhe.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sam ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, who do we have next?
Radhe Radhe Kripa ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Tameva saranam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashvatam.
Very nice, Kripa. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Job.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Dinesh ji.
Yeah.
Tame
तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice. Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe Chetan ji, the debutant.
Radhe Radhe.
Chetan has done
तमेव
before.
शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परं शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्.
See, you did so well, Chetan. You've done it in the past as well. So very nicely done.
Thank
Good
you,
job.
Nitin. Thank you.
Radhe Radhe Meena ji, please go ahead.
Best debut comeback. Comeback debut. All right.
Radhe Radhe.
Go ahead, please.
तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परं शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्.
Very nice, Meenaji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Sumesh ji, please go ahead.
राधे राधे नितिन जी, राधे राधे
Radhe
everyone.
Radhe.
तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि
Wonderful. Very nice. Sumesh, we can quickly pick up the remaining hands and then get started.
Radhe Radhe, Payal ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Palji.
राधे राधे तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्.
Wonderful.
Radhe
Very
Radhe.
nice, Payalji. I'm glad you could make it sooner today. All right, last three hands and then we get started.
Radhe Radhe, Akshita ji, please go ahead.
राधे राधे तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्.
Wonderful, Akshita ji. All right, last hand, maybe. Last hand.
Radhe Radhe, Pragi ji.
Radhe Radhe, Pragi ji.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
त्वमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pragi ji. So let's get started. So Lord Krishna is saying, surrender exclusively unto him with your whole being. O Bharat, by his grace you will attain perfect peace and the eternal abode. So two things. That means the peace that we get is imperfect right now. Intuitively we know that. And definitely we haven't attained the eternal abode as yet. We are on the abode which gets destroyed and recreated, destroy and recreated, which science calls Big Bang. Okay, every now and then it gets pralay, nemitic pralay, and mahapralay happens, and then it's recreated, and all that stuff continues to happen, and that is where we are actually getting recycled in different gross bodies. So that is what is happening. So let's move on to this concept that we are going to talk about. So yesterday we spoke about the concept that surrender is that of mind. It's impossible that you can have your mind in God and world at the same time. Okay, and the surrender, the only thing that needs to be surrendered is mind. Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is saying, basically he says, and that surrender, basically that mind has to be in God all the times. So ananyata, exclusivity, and nirantarata, continuity, both are the preconditions for that. And Lord Krishna says, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanusman. And mind, it cannot be at two places at the same time. It's just like we looked at the example of that boat. If you continue to row the boat and it is hooked, the anchor is hooked, then you are really not progressing. And that is exactly with the mind. If your mind is attached in the world, no matter what kind of practice you are doing, how many chantings you are doing, how many austerities, penances you are doing, you are still stuck. It's really not going to take you any further. So mind is the key thing in spirituality. We spoke about this concept. Today we will go further. What are we going to talk about? So we are going to talk about, if God is causelessly merciful, why doesn't God grace us unconditionally, and why is it so difficult to leave everything on God? Two questions. One, we will tackle it through watching Swamiji's lecture. This is a very valid case. A soul is making a case against God. He said, God, I'm going to tell you something. Can I ask you something? God said, yes, go ahead. He said, I'm going to tell you something and ask you something that you're not going to like. So God said, never mind, I'm used to it. Go ahead. So soul builds a case. Even in this world, if somebody is lying down in a pitiable, miserable state, any person will have some kind of a compassion towards that person. Any person would have that, looking at the state of that person. And what kind of a father are you who, despite knowing that we are afflicted with Maya, we are suffering, we are under the ignorance, we are repeatedly making mistakes, we are repeating in this cycle, and you are still not doing anything about it. You are quietly watching and witnessing us. What kind of a spiritual father are you? So that is a question we'll tackle first, and then we will go into a deeper concept, another concept around it. So the concept of surrender is, let's look at it. It is said in our scriptures, anukulasya sankalpah pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyatiti vishwaso kopritve varnam tatha atma nikshepa karpane shadvidha sharana gati. There are 6 principles of surrender. So today we will probably pick up 1 or 2 based on how far we can go. These are the 6 principles of surrender in this particular thing. What are these? Anukulasya sankalpa. The first one is align with the will of God. Second is pratikulasya varjanam. Do not do basically things or think anything that goes against the will of God. So let's look at it. The first one is to desire only in accordance with the desire of God. Anukulasya sankalpa. The second one is pratikulasya varja. That means not to desire against the desire of God. It's reiterating the same, but in a negative way, right? Third one is to have firm faith that God is protecting us. So these are the 6 principles. You can maybe put a sticker on your wall or a magnet on your refrigerator, however you want to do that. These are the very one. The fourth is to maintain an attitude of gratitude. Fifth one is to see everything we possess as belonging to God. Last but not the least is to give up the pride of having surrendered. These are the principles of surrender. Now, easier said than done. And unless we really get into the depth of each, it will be pointless, and we will definitely do that. But before that, let's it will take more than one session to go into the skin of each one of these principles to really solidify it in our head. But today, let's get started with the first one, where God is Akaran Karun. Then why is he putting the condition for us to bestow his grace? We spoke about his regular grace, which is accessible, available to everyone. But we've been talking about his special grace that is needed. And why he's put a condition for that? Why can't he bestow his grace so that we get out of this state, pitiable state? What will happen? I mean, it's like, give us your eternal abode, give us eternal peace. Big deal. You have everything, right? So let's talk about it by listening to a lecture, beautiful lecture on this question that Soul is going to pose. Just give me a thumbs up if you're able to hear the audio.
Now the soul
Good. All right. I'm going to play.
expressed his intention. My Lord, I am also your little child. I am helpless. I have fallen in this ditch of material existence. I am being kicked by the waves of Maya and tormented by anger, greed, desire. You are my all-merciful Father. You have declared Amritasya Vaiputra, and you are aware of the miseries that I am undergoing. Are you not feeling pity on me? It is within your capacity to grace me by a mere glance of your causeless grace. You can liberate me from the shackles of material bondage. Why then, my Lord, have you not graced me, and endless lifetimes have passed by? concept of grace should not be misinterpreted to mean that we don't need to do anything or that God is doing everything. He is providing us with the power to do. How we utilize that power is our own discretion. So we should not blame God for our mistakes. We need to correct them. If we have not received His grace, there is something that we are supposed to be doing which we have not done, or something that we are not supposed to be doing which we are doing. Either way, we need to understand what is the condition based on which God bestows His grace. One soul fights with God. He says, "My Lord, should I reveal my mind to you?" God said, "Go ahead. You will not like it." God said, "Never mind, I'm used to it." We people from time to time think thoughts of anger, hatred, envy, jealousy, and God sitting inside is noting them all. So God says, "I'm very used to all the Gobar Ganesh that the souls are keeping in their heart. What is it that you wish to say? Tell me." Now the soul spoke up. "Api garta mukhe gata shishuhu pathikena api nivaryate javat janakena patana bhavarnave na nivaryo bhavata katham vibho." The soul said, "My Lord, in the world it so happens that if a little helpless child is fallen in a ditch and a passerby happens to see the child wailing, crying helplessly, any passerby is moved to pity. They lift the child, quieten the child, feed the child, endeavor to find that little baby's parents, and if the parents are not traceable, then they deposit the child in an orphanage or the police station. But nobody is so hard-hearted that they would throw that little baby back into the ditch. Jao maro. This much of pity, my Lord, even we humans have got." God accepted. "You are very correct. Human beings do possess the virtue of compassion. If they don't, they are not human, they are demoniac. But what is it you wish to say, O soul? Why have you created this background before presenting your statement?" Now the soul expressed his intention. "My Lord, I am also your little child. I am helpless. I have fallen in this ditch of material existence. I am being kicked by the waves of Maya and tormented by anger, greed, desire. You are my all-merciful Father. You have declared Amritasya Vai Putra, and you are aware of the miseries that I am undergoing. Are you not feeling pity on me? It is within your capacity to grace me by a mere glance of your causeless grace. You can liberate me from the shackles of material bondage. Why then, my Lord, have you not graced me, and endless lifetimes have passed by? And don't blame me. O soul, why did you not come to my door? If you had, I would have blessed you. My Lord, I am unaware of the path to your door. I am admitting I am in ignorance. But you don't have any such alibis because you are omniscient, all-knowing, sarvagya, and you possess various titles: Patita Pavana, Deen Bandhu, Binu Hetu Sanehi, Akaran Karuna Varunalay. Savior of the destitutes, rescuer of the fallen, ocean of causeless grace and mercy. What mercy, my Lord! Your little child is in such doldrums and you are not blessing him. Quickly bestow your grace on me, or your good name will be tainted. The soul leveled this accusation upon God. Now God responded, O soul, chota muh badi baat. You have accused me of being hard-hearted. I am supposed to be softer than the softest. But tell me one thing. The basis of your claim for grace was that I am your father and you are my child. My question to you is, do you actually believe that I am your father? Simple question. You said, oh God, you are my father, bless me. My question is, do you actually believe that I am your father? Where do you believe? You have 2% faith. God is also my father, but I have never seen him. I have received the
Sick.
love of my worldly father. I have a share in his property. I will get it from him after he leaves. Out there you have attachment, and here you have none. God says, I'm waiting for you to actually accept me as your Lord. When you go to the temple, you say, Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva. Oh God, you alone are my Father. Then why don't you believe that? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Tumhara hong yadi kahe ek baar. Just say once with all your heart. Oh Sri Krishna, you alone are mine. You alone, Tvameva. God says, look, if I bestow my grace, do you know what I will give you? No, my Lord. Listen. I'll give you my divine knowledge. Divine bliss, which will fulfill and satisfy you for the rest of eternity. I'll give you that kind of love which will satiate your heart completely. In return, what do I ask from you? Are you aware? No, my Lord. Then look, it's said in America, there are no free lunches. You want my grace in free fund? Don't you realize that you have some commitment, some obligation, something to do in return? Yes, you're right, my Lord. What is it that you are supposed to do? Do you know? I don't. Then first of all, understand what is it that God gives. And what is it that God expects from you? All right, my Lord, let me hear you out today. Speak up. Now God responded with the condition for grace. In the Rig Veda he says, Todasyeva sharana amahasya. O soul, surrender to me, and I will grace you. The condition for grace is sharanagati. God says, look, you have come into my world. Now, if you go to Brazil, you can't live by American or Indian rules. You have to follow the rules of Brazil. And if you go to Moscow, you have to live by the rules of Russia. Similarly, we are in God's world. We need to follow God's laws. God says, why is this revolution taking place? Again, he says in the Rig Veda, Tve tva mada indra madayam tu shushminam tu viradasam jaritre eko devatradayase. O soul, if you surrender yourself to me without any delay, I will release you from the bondage of Maya. I will cut these bonds of Trigun, Tritap, Trintosh, Panchaklesh, Panchakrosh, all these afflictions, and bestow that divine bliss upon you. There will not be a moment's delay.
All right. So hope it helps reiterate the concepts, Swamiji in his inimitable style, and addresses this question, why God is not gracing us. And it is said that if we simply believe in God, we will realize God. It's a very powerful statement. If we truly believe in God, we'll realize God. That's all is needed. So when every pore and fiber of our being would truly start believing that God is our Father, He will bestow grace at that point. It's just the shortcoming on our side because of which we are not recipient of His grace. So, in other words, we are rebels. We have rebels in every country who say that we don't believe in our government, and they want to form their own government. So similar to that, we are also rebels because we are not willing to obey the laws of God's creation. Because first of all, part of it is ignorance and part of it is inability, because it takes a bit of an exertion to begin with. So anyways, I think we have understood this point that God's grace, God bestows His grace on a particular condition, and the condition is surrender. And that is what we've been discussing. So let's move forward on this concept, and let's see what do we have to discuss now. The difference is, where the gap is, we'll have a bit of a discussion on this concept. There is a difference between janana and manana. So we know, but we don't believe, and that makes the entire difference. Okay, हम जानते हैं but मानते नहीं. Let's look at some of the examples around it. Okay, so for example, Gyan is theoretical, where knowing part of it, and Vigyan is believing, which is applied science. And it is said this has one of the biggest divides. Filling in that gap between Gyan and Vigyan is the name of the game. In pretty much all walks of life, even in material life, we have to put the theory to practice to be able to realize it. So realized knowledge is true knowledge. Rest all is mere information. That is what Einstein said. Let's look at some examples. God is omnipresent. We know that. However, because less than 100% belief, it translates to we have privacy to our thoughts and actions that we want to keep secret. If we truly believe in this definition, we would not forget about doing anything bad. We'll not even think about anything bad because we know God is there. If somebody could have God could manifest himself and walk with you all the time, just imagine your state. Somebody is always with you. It'll be like, okay, give me a break. I need some privacy. But God, there's no privacy from God. So this is a concept which we know. But if we truly believe, we will actually start sanitizing our thoughts and actions as well, day-to-day action. The second one is, we are a soul. Now, if that is the case, then we will not be directing all the actions towards the body and bodily attachment through the senses. We will actually be taking all the actions by evaluating, is it good for my soul or is it something I'm just catering to my senses and my body alone? That question itself would purify so many things that we do in our life. You will not pick up fights, you will not have bitterment, resentment, anything of that, ego battles and all that stuff, because soul, it's not good for the soul, right? For the journey of soul. So again, less than 100% of the belief translates to that. Learn to tolerate both happiness and misery. We have understood this concept, at least learnt it. However, choosing to write both when the situation presents itself. Why? Because 100% faith is not there. What else is there? Making inner growth your top priority in life. Really, who has seen life after death? So the point is, it's a lack of faith because of which we are not able to take the letter of the scriptures into our belief system. And that is what we need to increase over time. And that is the whole concept or the objective of spiritual growth as well. Now, Swamiji, somebody asked Swamiji, why did you pick up this path? You know, you had a very rocking career going for you. You are an IIT IIM graduate. You could have had a plum corporate job. What happened in your life? Did your girlfriend ditch you? Or, you know, did you experience some tragedy? He's really being asked these questions. He told me, I've asked him that. He used to be asked such kind of questions. And his answer is very simple. He said that I just believed in knowledge. That's it. He believed in knowledge. And then he said that instead of studying the laws, he was a mechanical engineer, and all the laws, a lot of laws are there, right? Law of thermodynamics and pretty much all the laws. So if there is a law, there has to be a lawmaker. Why to study laws? Why not lawmaker? And then instead of working hard to increase the wealth of the shareholders, why not work for God himself? So that is the knowledge which he believed in. And that was an easy decision at that point. So our belief has to be solidified or increased for us to continue to progress. Now today I'm going to talk about that question in the next slide. Now in this one, the surrender aspect of it, if you look at it, even in material world, if a criminal surrenders to the law, the court will still punish him based on the crime that he has committed. Right? They say that all the Atankwadis and terrorists put down your arms and then they are rehabilitated, but there is a kind of a term that is given to them based on the crimes that they have committed. In case of God, it's causeless. So he says, with the day you surrender, first of all, I'm going to burn off your stockpile of all the karmas. Right? Sarv dharmam parityajye mamekam sharanam braj. That is the executive statement of Bhagavad Gita, if somebody were to call it. Towards the end, God walks Arjun through every dharma, all kind of things. And finally he says, forget all the dharma, simply surrender unto me. There is no higher dharma than that. Now Yudhishthir, he was also attached to his dharma of not speaking lie. And when he was asked by God himself to speak a lie, that Ashwathama is dead, because he was so hung up to he had so much of attachment to his own dharma, he did not speak that. He said, Nar nahi kunjar. It's not the human, but the elephant. Because he was like, I will never speak a lie. And God is asking him to do that. So God, who is the creator of dharma, is telling this is the dharma, and he's saying, no, the dharma, the way I understand, is better. It's like a traffic policeman telling you, go. and you say, no, my value system tells me when I see red, I will not go. So that was the only moment it is said that Yudhishthir's chariot touched ground. Earlier it used to be because of his pious deeds and because he was Dharmaraj, it is said it used to be a little elevated and it fell down because he actually violated dharma. There is no higher dharma than surrendering to God himself. Bhagavad Gita himself is saying that. And his grace is causeless. He liberates, he burns your sanchit karma and everything, and then he gives you his unlimited knowledge, bliss, and love the moment you surrender. Okay, we have still not touched upon the 6 principles of surrender, what surrender means, but we are building a case why surrender is important on this path and how we can increase it over time in our journey. So I'm going to pose a very interesting question today, which we can relate to, and that is kind of an impediment for all of us on this path. It was an impediment for Draupadi as well until she finally surrendered, and it is an impediment for all of us. So let's have a bit of a discussion on this question. The question is, we have a question. All right, you see this guy hanging? Okay, this guy is hanging and it's a big abyss that he can fall into until Krishna comes. Krishna says, let go of it. Have faith, I'm here to catch you. However, there is a stalemate. This guy says, first hold me, then I'll let go of it. Krishna says, let go of it, have faith. He says, no, first catch me, then let go of it. So this stalemate is continuing. And this is nothing but a kind of a story of our life as well. So who do you think is right in this case? Is the guy justified? Is Krishna justified? How do we resolve this stalemate? Let's have a bit of a discussion. I would like to hear from participants' response around it because I'm sure you can relate to it. Right? People have fear around, okay, what happens if I'm duped on this path and there's no God, or I'll be robbed of my life and kind of a deal. So God is saying, let go of it, have faith, I'm here to catch you. And this guy is saying, first hold me, then I'll let go of it. How do we resolve this stalemate? Who's right here? And what should happen basically? Anybody? Anybody, somebody, nobody? Everybody is thinking somebody will say it, but nobody is saying it. So let's go for it. Yes, Joe, please go. Thank you for breaking the stalemate.
Okay, Radhe, Radhe. I would like to think that he should have faith and let go, and God will, watch out for him. That's what I would think, that he has to have the faith. Let go. You don't bargain with God. You just have to have faith.
Okay, so let me rephrase this question again.
Okay.
So God says surrender, and I'll give you my grace.
Mm-hmm.
Then soul says, you grace, and then I'll break all the records in surrender, all the Guinness records in surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a stalemate. God says, you surrender, I'll give you grace. Soul says, you grace, and then see how many records I can break in surrender. What should happen first and why?
He should surrender first. That's my point, that he should surrender. He should have faith and surrender unto the Lord, and then the Lord will grace him. The question is, which come first, the chicken or the egg? You have to have faith, right? And if you don't have faith, then what's the point of this all?
Yeah, very true. And let me thicken the plot. What if God graces and then we show God the thumb? What is the guarantee we will not do that? Right?
Yeah, okay, but who is in charge? Who is in charge? God is in charge. So you have to surrender to the Lord, and the Lord will grace you. You can't. It's like blackmailing the Lord, saying, show me your grace and then I will give you thumbs up. I will surrender. No, no, it doesn't work that way.
Sure. Yeah, fair point. Good point. Thank you, Jonji. All right, let's hear from other participants as well, because it's a very important question to be understood. And that is the stalemate we are having to some extent in our minds as well on this path. Yes, let's hear from I can see a few more hands. Sunita ji has joined today as well. Very nice. So you want to go next, Sunita ji? Love to hear from you.
Sunita ji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe.
Actually, yeah, if we, Krishna is right here because if we do not have faith in God, then it is, futile to be in His shelter. So it is impossible that we can be in His shelter. So it is, so first we must have faith in Him. And as Swamiji declares, said that if you do not have faith in me, then you cannot follow the rules and regulations which is in my spiritual world.
Very true.
So
Very
that's why, yeah. So if we do not have faith, then it is better to stuck here, because अभी अगर हम भगवान खुद स्वयं वैकुंठ विमान लेकर हमें ले जाने के लिए भी आए, तो कितने सोल होंगे कि भगवान के साथ जाना चाहेंगे? तो ये मोह माया को छोड़कर कोई जाना ही नहीं चाहता वास्तव में.
बहुत उपयुक्त विचार आपके, आपने बहुत सही बात बताई. And that is the state, unfortunately, ironically, that is where we are stuck actually, right? It talks about the story of Indra, where Narad says,
Yeah.
let me take you, the possibilities that you are enjoying here, the possibilities are even more immense where I'm going to take you. Indra says, really? He said,
And
yes.
the material world itself a grace from the side of God. ये भी तो उनका ग्रेस ही है ना, कि हमें यहाँ भोग करने के लिए मिला है, तो ये भी उनका ग्रेस है. तो हर जगह ही भगवान का ग्रेस ही है, तो उन्हें और एक्स्ट्रा ग्रेस दिखाने की कोई आवश्यकता ही नहीं है, बस हमें फेथ दिखाने की आवश्यकता है.
Very true. Right. Great point, Sunita ji. Thank you so much. Let's hear from other participants to move the conversation further, and then we'll have a little more.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, there are two examples. One is the buying a ticket. When you go to a ticket window and you see that that fellow is giving tickets to all passengers by paying the money cash. So first you pay the money, then you get the ticket. Second example, when you register your house, you buy a house and you go for registrar office, you have to sign a paper. At the same time, you have to take the money also from him, that whatever the cost of the house is paid to you, then only you are entitled for the signing the papers.
True, very true.
So these are the two examples. But practically, it's happening. Even though there is no faith in the opposite party when making a registry of your house, but still you see there's so many transactions are going on.
True.
So at least we can keep faith with the God. God is not going to cheat you. So first you surrender, then get the grace.
We do Sharanagati, Radha, beautiful point, Ajit ji, and we do Sharanagati in the world. When you go to the bank, let's say you have to give 1 lakh rupees deposit in your bank. So to the cashier, you'll say, give me receipt, then I'll give you. Cashier will say, you give me cash, then I'll give you. You say, no, first give me receipt, then I'll give you. Then of course you have to give the cash first, right? So we do it in the world as well. And with God anyway, it's a journey of faith. We know the example of Prahlad. He had absolute faith, unshakable faith. So he was thrown off the hill, bitten by snakes, put in the fire, nothing happened. Why? Because he had absolute faith. So much faith that he could make God manifest from a pillar, because God is omnipresent. God had to manifest because he had absolute unshakable faith. We have enough examples in our scriptures to illustrate this point. Yes, let's hear from IFC's Sandhya, Rahul and Ankurji. So let's do one at a time. Who's our co-host?
Can we read the one of the chat from Payalji?
Sure.
Payalji says, it is the grace of God only that at least he is asking us to surrender. Else we don't even have this realization that nothing is in our hands. He is telling us, believe me and just surrender.
Beautiful. Yes, if you get the benefit of God coming in front of you and assuming you understand it is God, then it is a no-brainer. At least after going through these sessions and listening to Swamiji's lecture, it should become a no-brainer. Then if you doubt, then opportunity lost. But couple of conditions. First, God has to manifest. Second, you have to understand. Third, blank check. Okay, We don't need anything else. So yeah, that is the condition for sure. And what if God comes in front of you and he challenges your value system and asks you to do something which you think is inappropriate? We had a discussion on this topic as well. So are we still married to our own belief system, value system, or would you blindly follow God in that case? Like Yudhishthir, he did not. So we have to blindly follow because God is the ultimate, authority on dharma. And when he says, just follow me, you just follow him at that. He's the one who has created dharma around it. So that is another concept to be understood. Yes, anything else you wanted to read? Or I can see a few hands and take those discussion forward.
Radhe Radhe, Ankurji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Ankurji.
Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Ankurji.
Am I audible?
Yeah, I have a feeling you're going to say I have a question.
Yeah. No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to go ahead with the answer that first, the faith is the first step towards, the firmer the faith, the stronger the faith, the more power it gets within you to have the firm belief and,
Yes.
calm mind, composed mind, and
Yes.
it gives you a lot of strength to overcome a lot of obstacles within the mind itself.
Yes. Beautiful. Ramayana says, Jane binu hoy na partiti, binu partiti na hoy priti. That means without knowledge, you don't have faith, and without faith, you cannot have love. So it all goes in sequence. Why would you have faith? Because you are intellectually convinced through knowledge that God is, in the fourth principle of surrender is, have faith, God is protecting you. This is the fourth principle of surrender, which we are going to come in. So if we have that faith, that's all is needed at that point. So if you are falling down a ditch, you say maybe God is there, maybe not, that 50-50 will not help you. God will not save you 50%. Right? It is said when you are completely surrendered, you can actually see God in front of you. So now if you're 20% surrendered, would you just see his feet? And 50% then, up to waist? No, it doesn't work that way. You have to be 100% surrendered to see him full. The same way, for getting his grace, it's not like, it increases in proportion for sure, because it's a journey. It's not a unit step function. But the grace keeps on increasing, even though you may not be able to see him completely, but the grace will keep on increasing proportional to the surrender that we're doing. So if you want this much grace, do this much surrender. If you want this much grace, this much surrender, this much. It's in your hands only. That is essentially what the principle says. Okay, let's hear from others as well.
Radhe Radhe, Sandhya ji.
Yes,
Radhe Radhe. Yeah, one thing is, very strongly, I also feel this, that grace is always there. Without faith, we just can't see it. So there are so many things around us which we cannot see unless we use the appropriate tools, right? So similarly, faith is one such thing, without which we cannot feel the grace. So definitely there's a sequence. It is not a chicken egg problem. Without faith, we cannot feel grace. And also in this particular example, this person is having more faith on his power, like his hands can, he can keep holding that and save himself. So unless he realizes that there is a power much bigger than his muscular strength or whatever, which is the faith in God, I don't think he can receive the grace or feel.
Another part of it is, yes, beautiful point, Sandhya, that it is exercised from a position of strength, not from a position of weakness. Okay? Because when your muscle strength will get said, okay, God, I'm surrendered to you. So maybe that could also be treated as a surrender, but when you have a choice and you can exercise it, that's even better, right? So, yeah. Great point. Thank you.
There is another comment from Seema ji. There is no clause you can place in front of God. He is the supreme power, not you.
Wow, what a point. Wonderful. No clause. Yeah, very true. It's non-negotiable for sure. Yeah, great point.
Radhe Radhe, Sam ji.
Radhe Radhe. Yeah, maybe it's also that the man, the boy is hanging, and boy does not see God all the time. And in case instead of the God, there is a mom or dad, and the boy, the baby sees the mom and dad all the time, then he has more faith in them visibly. But God, of course, is omnipresent and everywhere. But God, for that baby, or for that matter, for the soul, we haven't seen. It is invisible, although He is omnipresent. So that's why the faith does not develop. Like jumping across something, in case you have the full faith, you will jump across, doesn't matter what happens. But like the physical presence all the time, it makes a difference also.
True, very true. That is where God has thickened the plot. He's not visible, he's veiled by Yogamaya power. Until we become purified, he'll not even reveal himself. Until then, we'll have to take a leap of faith and realize him through little increments, basically. That makes it even more difficult, right? Because it becomes a journey of faith, completely faith until that point. However, the good thing about it is that the principles that God has given us, right? The proof is in the pudding. It's not like 0 to 1. Only when we see God He will give you enough proofs along the way, because He's given us the manual. You start aligning to the principles and start reaping the benefits and start realizing the presence of God, the fact that somebody is pulling the strings. He'll give you enough examples, enough realizations, enough evidence along the way. And then it's just a matter of time before you even saw seeing Him. Right? When you start transcending into Bhava Bhakti, you see, I saw Krishna, and I'm about to see him. That those kind of feelings will start coming up as well. So this is a path. Of course, it starts with a faith, but then that faith is an intelligent faith. It's not a dumb faith, because scriptures are telling, saints are telling, and then you can, like science, you can experiment and start realizing it as well. So I would call it as an intelligent faith, not a blind faith at that point. Yes.
Radhe Radhe Sai Ramji.
Radhe Radhe Sai Ramji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
So maybe I will take a stab at this question also. But maybe a little bit differently, because I'll just kind of think from my logic. You can tell me whether I'm thinking correct, wrong, whatnot. Because mera tattva gyan to not comparable to any of the people over here.
Yes, we are all sailing in the same boat, but yeah, we'll try.
So, question idhar hai ki how do we resolve this stalemate? So, God is asking this person to have faith, but the person doesn't have faith. But in Bhagavad Gita, it's written that to have faith, first you should have knowledge. And God has provided all of these saints. They've come down. बहुत सारे saints आए हैं, बहुत सारा knowledge है. Bhagavad Gita है, श्रीमद् भागवत में, Chaitanya Charitamrita है. All of these knowledge book, I mean, plenty of scriptures are there, but we don't have the knowledge. So first we need to build the knowledge to get the faith. And this person probably doesn't have that knowledge. That's why faith is lacking.
Yes.
And then with that faith, it said we will get devotion. So with that devotion, automatically, bhakti, love, everything will increase. Automatically, we will surrender and follow the will of God.
Very true. No, that's very legal, logical sequence, yeah.
So I guess resolving the stalemate is to first build the knowledge.
Very true. And once we build the knowledge, we have to bridge this gap as well, where knowledge is not just limited to janana. It is actually believing. That is where faith comes, right? But yes, it all starts with knowledge, because jane binu hoye na partiti, without knowledge you will not have faith, and without faith you will not have love. So it all follows the sequence, and knowledge is the cornerstone or the backbone of all this stuff. Only when you have knowledge about something will you be willing to believe in it. And only when you know the value of something will you be able to fall in love with it. So that's how the process goes. Great point, Sayamji. I think you summed it up really well, like you always do in summaries as well. Okay. Yes. Few more hands.
Can we make some announcements, Nitinji, before we...
Oh, yes, please. Let's make the announcements and then we will do that. We have a little bit of extra time today before Swamiji's lecture start, right? So please go ahead.
So the main announcement is regarding the Puri Sadhana Shivir. If you are interested in immersing yourself in the Leelas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you can do that from the comfort of your home and join the Shivir online. The link is there in the chat. Apart from that, regarding the Gita Jayanti video, you are requested to record a video in the vertical or portrait mode with wishes for Bhagavad Gita Jayanti in your native language and upload. I've just shared the link on the chat, so it is available for everyone. And there are some videos already there, so you can check them out and see what we want to do in that. And apart from that, regarding the Sunday satsang, every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. CST, we have the Sunday satsang live from Argeti, Dallas. So please feel free to join that also. That's it from the announcement section. Unless
Thank you,
somebody
Rahul.
add something.
Feedback tracker, that's what I was saying.
Feedback tracker, yes, please
Yeah,
do
sure.
fill out the feedback tracker as well. It's a great opportunity for you to write about what you like and what you don't like about the session and what you would like to see less or more of. I try to read it and try to bring it, And then I wanted to show you something as well. Am I sharing my screen right now?
Yes. We can see how do we resolve that this stalemate screen.
Okay, you are still seeing that, so I need to stop share for that then. That is not what you should be seeing. So let me share that. So by the way, you could actually check out this link as well. Share sound share. Are you seeing this on Instagram?
Yes, now we can see that.
Okay, I'll share the link maybe. 6 Principle of Surrender. Do check it out. I'll share the link. I think audio is not coming for some reason.
You have to unmute that on that tab.
Okay, so anyways, what I'll do is I'm going to share it on your chat so that you can go and check it out. But yes, let's take the participants. There were some other things that you wanted to discuss, right? So let's continue with that.
Radhe Radhe Kumarji.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe
So
Kumarji.
one of the reasons we don't surrender is we don't have 100% faith, right? That's one of the reasons, obviously. What I contemplated was the other reason is the attachment, right? Attachment to the material world. And that's the reason why we don't surrender. We think, oh, you know what, I need to take care of this. Again, it does connect itself to faith as well. But that attachment to material world is the reason why we are not able to surrender either.
True, very true. Yeah, it's like we don't want to let go of that. It's like, what if we lose this as well and there is no God and stuff like that? So our faith is not completely there as yet. Very true. And that those material attachments stop us as well. Great point, Kumarji. Thank you. Keshavji is going to.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Keshavji.
Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Faith, trust, Gyan. Gyan kaise aayega? That's a very big question. I mean, like a couple of weeks ago, I was in Hawaii and talking to not Hawaii, Las Vegas. And two Christians were sitting next to me in the jacuzzi. So I asked them, do you hear Bible or listen Bible? Do you read Bible? And they were looking at me. So now I'm sharing about myself. First, I heard Gita. Then I listened Gita. Then I started reading Gita. Then I started having the courage to ask the questions from the Swamis, visiting from India. I'm in California based. So I had the opportunity of meeting a lot of Swamis here. About 50 Swamis came here and I talked to them. And then I had the questions and then I'll come up with the shloka. This shloka is saying this, what you are saying this. Please let me know, not criticism, but trying to understand like a student, like Arjuna was asking. So now I have 100% trust and faith in Lord Krishna, Purushottam Krishna. Now, regarding this picture, the one you showed, I had seen another picture in a little different form. The guy who is hanging, he was hanging and he was only 2 inches from the bottom. Only 2 inches gap was there, but he didn't have that knowledge because he didn't bother to look at the feet where how deep he is and how high is hanging. So this trust, faith comes right away once you have surrendered to God, and God is in heart, and He listens only when I surrender. Otherwise, He is just a witness. Jai Shri Krishna.
Beautiful point, Keshav ji. Very nice. Thank you for sharing your insights and deep learnings that you have. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. So thank you so much for that. Very true. All these concepts, they converge actually. Knowledge, faith, grace, surrender. The good thing about this is when you start progressing spiritually, you focus on one value, you try to implement one value to the best of your ability. The others will come like a pack of noodles, right? When you pick up noodle, one, others, they just follow along. So same way happens here as well. But yeah, this is a very important concept that we are discussing, and we have still not started with concepts of surrender. I keep on saying every session, but next session definitely we'll start with the first principle, and we'll go in sequence one by one all of those principles, and then we will map it to the day-to-day scenarios. Okay, in this scenario, if we think like this or act like this, are we aligning to the principle or are we violating the principle? Okay, we'll drill it down to that level, so that way we can make it our way of life. We increase our sharanagati and increase the grace that we can receive based on aligning to those principles. Okay, I know it's 10:01, and today we have Swamiji's lecture coming up as well shortly, I believe.
Yes.
Did anybody want to recite today? Maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes we can spare, and then 10:30 I think we have time. So maybe 5-10 minutes we have. If somebody wants to chant, recite, or share any.
Lecture has started.
Oh, it's
Just
already started. Okay, then Radhe Radhe everybody. Pleasure. Have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you next week, and stay blessed, and hopefully you're going to catch up on the lecture as well in the Puri retreat. So Radhe Radhe everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful weekend. Thank you.